Here is the front of the CyberTruck. As you can see, the forward jack stand place is clear. That's great. And if we look here, we can see that with the aid of our light here, we can see that the jack stand part is almost right underneath where the bracket is. The bracket covering the jack pad. So how do I remove it? Well, I have to remove the two frame bolts and then loosen these. So let's see if I can get to that one hand. You don't have to take them off, you just loosen them up, because we're going to end up sliding it down the running board. There we go, nice and loose, okay? The nut is just past the end of the bolt. Let's loosen this 13 millimeter now. See if I can do that one-handed. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. Okay, you can take that out by hand. Remember, you're on the side of the road somewhere, and you got to get to this jack pad because your front left wheel is dorked up and flat. I'll use this 10 millimeter nut wrench, and I'm going to need to use their supplied wrench because when I put it on, it was nice and snug. Remember, anytime you tighten any of these kinds of bolts, you don't go crazy on it. If you do, you'll break the bolt. Most likely it'll break off in the CyberTruck, and then you got a whole day of trying to get that out. Want to loosen this up. Now remember, you're laying down on the side of the road somewhere to try to get to the jack pad. Okay, we'll take the bolt out. Now, there's a spacer underneath. I slide it and take that out. Okay, so now to get to the jack pad, it's pretty easy. You slide the thing forward and we can get to the jack pad. So that is how we actually access the jacking point here in the CyberTruck with the Hansshow Running Boards. Relatively easy. I can reverse the process pretty fast, just slide the bracket back. Running boards. You can also slide it this way, which may be a better way because now the jack can access this. Let's bring the jack in and see if we can get that done. The jack has to be high enough to get around the running board here, so let's see if that'll all work. All right, to put it in jack mode, you come down here to service, scroll up, and we have jack mode here now. Okay, jack mode is there. We're there now. Let's see if we can jack up the CyberTruck. And I started at a medium height. All right, let's check. By the way, per the instructions of jacking, always chalk the wheels, okay? It's just a really good idea. While the truck isn't going to move anywhere, you ensure it's not going to move anywhere by making sure there's wheel chocks on it. All right. So this proves by simply moving the bracket on the Hansshow deal. That noise is the tires coming off the ground on the well, for jack mode, this thing isn't holding the wheel where it's supposed to. Okay, finally, the tire is off the ground. Let's have a look. Looky there, we can see air under the tire. At this point, I can put the jack stand under if I choose, and then change the tire. What I don't like is in jack mode, why is the wheel coming so far down when I'm in jack mode? That seems like that may be a software bug. And I can rotate the tire, so we are definitely off, but there's got to be 16 inches of space there above the tire. So I don't know why it did that, but there you go. So the question has been answered. Even though I've got these awesome running boards, what do you do when you have to jack your car? Simply loosen this bracket, move it, put your jack here, jack it up in the required space, and you're good to go. So always to be safe, you take your jack stand, slide it in, raise it here till it's right where it should be. Put your locking pin in. I can get it. What? There. There's our locking pin. And then I'm lowered the jack. I don't think I can do this in one hand. I've lowered the jack here now to have this share the load. You can see the jack is in its particular place here, and the lock pin is in, and we are ready to get under the CyberTruck. This allows me to do it on the road or here in the garage. To remove the jack stand, of course, you come up slightly, pull the pin, pick that up, and remove the jack stand. Let's try jacking up the back to make sure that the jack stand clears the mount. Here is the underneath of the rear of the CyberTruck, and this is the lifting point. As you can see, it says lifting point, and this is where the jack goes. The jack stand goes here, and if you had a jack stand with a V connection, it should just barely fit into the place provided here. This is the rear of the CyberTruck. I'm going to hold the phone here while I position the jack. Go ahead and jack it up a little. Now get it where it's supposed to be. And I haven't removed the bracket here on the back, so it's not necessary. There's plenty of clearance. Let me get it just right. There we go. Okay, now we're ready for the lift. Now where the jack's gonna go, or the jack stand I should say, is it's gotta cook under here, as you can see, and here. So let's see if I can get it in. Let's get the thing in the air. It amazes me in jack mode that the wheels don't stay where they are. They actually come down. I know they're not actively coming down. That noise is the rubber coming off of the epoxy floor. Remember, you may have to do this out in the wild. Okay, wheels off the ground. Don't think I can move it because that's where the brake is. See his wheel off the ground. Yep, barely. All right, now our test is seeing where the jack stand goes. So let's go up a little more. Okay, the wheel's definitely off the ground. And we're right on the jack point. Well, I will say that my gigantic 6-ton jack stand, which isn't really required, the opening is too big. it hits this bracket. I think I'll let it down slow and see, okay? So you guys watch here. Oh, that wasn't very slow. And it jammed itself in the slot up against the bracket, see? Anyway, if you had a smaller jack stand, like a 4-ton, you'd be fine. After you've done your tire service, it's time to put the forward bracket on. You essentially slide it down, and before you put it on, I'm gonna have to use 2 hands, so let me do that. You guys can watch. I think you can see that. You have to take the long bolt, this one, the spacer goes in the hole. You then put the bolt in, line it up in the hole, hand tighten it, catch the threads. Okay, so we've started the small 6mm. We'll now take the 8mm, stick it back in its hole here. Okay. Now I've hand threaded the CyberTruck side. Let me get the wrenches here, and we'll tighten up the CyberTruck side. Again, you don't want to go too crazy with this, right? The reason is there's no need for it. Once the split washer compresses and you've got another half a turn, that's all you need to do. You can go crazy, go for it. When that bolt breaks inside of the CyberTruck, you will not have a good day. And I usually just hand tighten stuff like this, and I am good. Okay, so that's tight, this is tight. Now we tighten the bolts onto the actual part here. Now these are nuts, and when you tighten the one, the second one loosens up. But again, don't go crazy on this stuff. You want it snug and tight, but you don't want to put a impact driver on it or any of that ridiculous stuff here. Sure, if you want to, go for it. The downside is when you break it, or in this case, when you have to take it off, you might not be able to get it off anymore. And again, with these bolts, you tighten this one and this one loosens because of the cross piece in there. All right, so there you go. We've now jacked it by removing this particular bracket, and the running board is nice and secure.